Hello, hello. Wow, we just got back from our spring trip. I feel like these lights are, hopefully they're not too bright. Let me do a little adjusting, see if we can get some better lighting. Okay, let's just try that for a minute. I'm coming to you live from the van. So we just got back today. It's June 3rd. We left, oh gosh, when did we leave? I don't even know what date we left. We ended up leaving a few days late because I was very slow with getting the van ready. We were supposed to leave on the 21st of May and we ended up leaving, no, we were supposed to leave on the 22nd, which was a Friday, and we ended up leaving on Sunday the 24th. So we traveled from May 24th and we got home today. All in all, I think it was a really good trip. I would say that out of what I had planned was there were 3 areas that we did not see, which was because it was funny because I called it the Bryce Canyon trip and we ended up not getting to Bryce Canyon or that area down like Utah, Arizona area where I wanted to go, which was fine because the weather was a little bit warmer. I can tolerate it fine, but Jason cannot. So other than that, I think the weather was favorable all in all for the trip. There were some rainy days. There was a couple hotter for Jason, I'd say, days being in the van overnight. But in the whole grand scheme of things, I think the weather was favorable. So I wanted to kind of I know I'm kind of been on a little hiatus. I'm going to get back to the van build. This was a really great trip to kind of see, like do a pause and see what things I need to adjust. And so I got like the plumbing in, I got the electrical in, which you'll kind of see. We're going to go backwards and I just have to edit and I'll post those videos. But this was just a really good trip to kind of see where I want to tweak and adjust before I get like the final walls up and everything. Right now I just kind of have some makeshift walls and makeshift ceiling, which I'll show you in a minute. It just was a really good trip to take over a period of time to see where adjustments need to be made. And it was a really good experience as far as like my power bank, how that works, how it stores power, how I'm charging back up, how quickly it replenishes. The AC, I'll do a little review on that. It's still a little bit questionable, this unit that I purchased. My Laveo dry flush toilet, the ProBreeze, which I am still a great fan of. Yeah, just everything like storage. Just I've kind of felt like I was playing this game of Tetris. Get things in here. It made me more excited to kind of complete the build and do little tweaks and adjust, just as far as where things are located and the space. And so it was me, my husband Jason, and the dog Gary. So for tight quarters, I think we maneuvered well. I think Jason is definitely done with being this close to me for a little bit. You definitely get up close and personal in a lot of areas in the van versus our camper, which is a little bit larger, not that much larger, but at least in the camper you can separate yourself from front to back. You can't do that as much in the van, just a little bit, like you're just always in someone's face. So you definitely have to at least like someone a little bit to do that. I think that I've got like all the creature comforts a one person could really, really want in everything. As far as like the build goes itself, I think I have all the major components in our travel. So let me tell you first like where we went. So we left here in Minnesota. I used this app. I'm gonna pull it up. I used it a couple, like last year, a couple years ago. Anyway, I took like a month-long hiatus. It was either last fall or the fall before, where I just took a month off and I just traveled by myself with the dog and the camper. And at that time, it was like October-ish, say the month of October, and it was great. It was a great way to unplug and explore areas. Like I went out west, like to the desert and stuff like that. And Jason doesn't really like that hot heat as much, so that was a good time for me to go out to those areas that I enjoy so much. This trip, so we left here, I think on day one. It was later in the day, so we only drove like 3 or 4 hours, and we ended up, the first couple days we ended up staying at just like Walmart parking lots. We ended up going to, the first day we got to Mitchell, South Dakota. Then the next, so that Monday was probably a long, like probably the longest drive out of the whole time that we drove one stretch, which was from Mitchell, South Dakota to Cheyenne, Wyoming. And that was like a 9-hour drive, and we stop along the way and see things and get slushies and treats and snacks and whatever, whatever floats our boat, we'd stop and go and wherever. So from Cheyenne, so the first major stop that I had been there, but I wanted Jason to see, was Arches National Park in Utah. And so the idea was to go there and then go south into like the Canyonlands, into Bryce National Park, and then kind of swoop back up and go north. But we made it to Arches. We did take a little pit stop. We stopped, so I ended up finding a van builder in Boulder, Colorado, which worked out well because Jason has a buddy that lived there. So things that, kind of a small little detour. We were driving by that area anyway, stopped at the van builder. They helped us out, connected my solar. So then from the rest of the trip, day 2, 3 on, we had solar capabilities. From there, then I can't remember if we stayed there. No, I think we stayed in Mitchell, we stayed in Cheyenne, then we stopped in Boulder, and then we drove to Arches. And we didn't quite make it to Arches. We stayed just outside Grand Junction, Colorado, is where we stayed. Then we drove on into Arches and took like a day. And driving through the park pretty much took the whole day, which was wonderful. And then we just kind of, since we already knew we were detouring, then the plan was to go to the Salt Flats. So we just kind of headed that way. And I accidentally kind of took a wrong turn, which kind of brought us a little more north than I wanted to be when I figured it out. But it worked out in the end. When we kind of thought about, like, should we really go? Like, how much time are we going to invest in the Salt Flats? And then I wasn't sure if that would even be safe with having the dog, and then he would be cooped up, and then it was a little warmer too. So save that for another trip. And so then we ended up heading north up and staying in Idaho Falls, which I think is still Utah or Wyoming, not sure. Anyway, we stayed there. So then we went over through Jackson Hole and up. We drove like a day, took like the day and drove through Grand Teton, which was amazing. And then we ended up staying in Grand Teton that night. We kind of drove through the whole park, got to the north side of Grand Teton, stayed, and then got up early the next day and drove up into Yellowstone. We entered from the south entrance, took a whole day and drove from the south all the way to the north of Yellowstone. Took us the day with all the stops and the sites that we wanted to see. This was kind of the most sketch and interesting because we did not have a place to stay. I found a campground in the north side of Grand Teton where we stayed, and that just was by happenstance. I kept checking recreation.gov, everything was booked, and all of a sudden, like at one moment I checked, someone must have canceled because I nabbed up like the only spot at one of the campsites. I think it was Spirit Mountain or something mountain that we stayed at, and it was beautiful. But then Yellowstone didn't have anything. So we were just like, okay, we're gonna chance it. We're gonna see where, I was hoping and crossing my fingers that the same thing would happen, that someone would have a cancellation. And that did not happen. So we got all the way to Mammoth Springs in Yellowstone, and it was that time of day where it was make or break. Do we push on through the park? Like, we only had gotten halfway. So, and I think the max speed limit in the park was like 45 miles per hour. So, and in hindsight, I'm glad we made the decision we did, but it was really scary at the time. We ended up leaving the park, going north up into Gardner, Montana, where I did find a campsite that said that it had 2 sites, first come, first serve available. So I was like, okay, there's 2. What are the chances that someone would, maybe one person, but not 2, drove all the way up the side of this mountain, up this crazy switchback, 1-lane road up this mountain, got to the campsite. One of the 2 sites was taken, pulled into the second one, nothing, it didn't look like anything was taken, nothing unusual. I've done first come, first serve before. Went and put our ticket on the post, and then here comes the camp host, and he's like, sorry, this site is taken, it was reserved, and the people are coming back. And it was like, I need you to step away because I'm gonna have a breakdown. And I mean, this was after switchback, driving the mountain, twisty, tiny roads, not sure where we were. I was just kind of over it for the day, and I just wanted to sleep. And this town in Gardner had very strict, no camping, no overnight parking. We did see that a lot the further west we got, where just a lot of towns buckle down and they just don't want overnight parking in no city streets, no parking lots. Like Walmart, Cracker Barrel, or truck stops are basically the options that we had found, or dispersed camping. But then when you research the dispersed, unless you know someone that knows how to get to these places and find the good places, like, it was really frustrating to try to find places that are like Google searched. Anyway, the guy was like, don't hate me, but you can't stay here. And I was like, look, man, can we just like park on the side of the road? Nope, can't do that. So then there was this like Google search of dispersed camping nearby. We tried to go down this road, and again, it was just switchback. Every time we'd do switchback and go higher, the road was getting narrower and more narrow to where it was like there was finally like a landing spot. And I think there was a road that was blocked. It had a gate and it said no parking, and I felt like that was the road we needed to be on, but it was blocked off. And then the road that went higher, like, you could just see it, like it was like a cliff. And I was like, nope, if we're gonna turn around, this is our only chance to turn around. Otherwise the road wasn't even wide enough to turn around with the van. And then we thought, well, should we just stay here tonight? We couldn't get level. We both were like just frustrated and tired, like, oh. But the campground guy, he's like, well, hey, they don't like maybe check the water, the fishing access roads. Sometimes people aren't bothered if you just park and sleep and get up and go. But so we did make it back down to town. We didn't stay on the dispersed road. There was a car right ahead of us that took the one spot that we would have been fine and done well at. And right when we turned on that road, we saw that car turn right ahead of us. And then we went up, we're following the road, and like, sure enough, that person had taken like the one spot that was on that main road. We would have needed I would say a smaller, more SUV type of vehicle to go higher in elevation. It was gorgeous, it was beautiful, but by that time, I don't think either one of us were enjoying the views overlooking the town of Gardner, Montana. So we went back down the mountain, and we're talking probably in the grand scheme of things, this is like maybe a few miles, but just a few miles, it takes like a half hour, an hour, because it's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% grade. I definitely learned grades in elevation very quickly during this trip. That night was probably the only night that we felt like, oh, is it okay to park here? We're not sure. And we ended up parking. We got through town, and there was a little pull off kind of by a little river access where we saw some other vans and RVs that had pulled over for the night as well. Because there was another camper van that came in to that campground like right after we did, and he got turned away too, so we saw him back in town. It just made me think like, wow, how do these people do it? How do these people that live in their vans find safe parking? It made me think I want to like create an app or something like where people could sell a parking spot. You'd think these towns would want the revenue. Like, say for instance, if I'm traveling in my camper van and I'm going to your town, I'm saving money by not purchasing the hotel. However, that saved money, I'm going to use that in your town to buy things. Your whole town, regardless whether it's a hotel stay or whatever, it's creating revenue for your whole town by me traveling through your town. So if you give me a safe place to just park for a few hours, I'm not moving in, I'm not creating a mess, I'm, just coming, enjoying the sights, spending money in your town. You think those towns would welcome people to come and park. And even like, say if you even had a spot for like even up to say $20 a night for a van, like I would probably take advantage of that to just say, hey, here's a level parking spot, park in a parking lot. I don't need utilities, I don't need to plug in, I don't have a big rig. It's just something very small, just need a safe parking spot. And I would, for that safety or that peace of mind, I would probably pay up to $20. Maybe not $20 a night if I lived in my van, but I don't know, maybe that's a business idea for someone out there to have safe van parking for people that do live and travel in their vans. Because I did notice the further west we drove, the more signs you would say like no overnight parking. In Minnesota, our side of the country is more open to letting people just park and be. And I don't feel that people in their vans have ill intentions. I think they just really want a safe place, just a safe place to park. And I don't feel in general that people are taking advantage of that. There's always people that take advantage. There's always people that kind of have to ruin it for the whole group, I think, in any sort of situation. In all, I think most people they just want a safe place to be. That's my two cents. Get out of my soapbox. Okay, how about I show you what I've done in the van. try and get you and turn you around. So, it's getting hot. Okay, burp, burp, burp. Come along with me. So in here, of course, I have my side window that I installed that it's got the full shade or the screen, and the window opens here too. I don't know what I think about these because quite honestly, from a security standpoint, I know there was a couple times we stopped and we were going to be in town. Okay, that window's open. If I just have the window open and the screen there and I wanted to run into the store or whatever, like that whole space is open. So I feel like that's kind of like someone could just break in very easily. So I don't know how I feel about that. But I do like the shade option. And then I can open it when I drive and have other vision. Remember I installed that swivel seat there. The GoPro got hot, so we took a little break and went and got something to eat, and now I'm back. Is my little restroom area. This will eventually be the little wet shower. Not sure what that was, but anyway, my little video dry flush. This was a great little area to keep Gary's food and water dish. He has a tendency to spill his water, so this is the shower pan, so it was a great place for if it got wet. Just had a little extra folding table for storage, had one of the little folding chairs because we would set that kind of right here to watch. Jason would sit and watch television from here and I would sit on the bed. And then just Gary's little bucket of leashes, and then we just had a bunch of towels and toiletries. And I just had a bunch of little S-hooks that I used in there. I do have one light wired up for shower, which right now I have it there and here, but I think I'm gonna move the switch to be right here by the shower and then just have one dedicated for the shower. And then, so those two, and then like the next group of lights, I'm going to go this way because that gets a little loud. The next group of lights here is all on one switch, which I have here. And then I have a switch. So right now this is just temporary but makeshift. It's kind of an idea of how this area will be set up, because eventually this toilet is going to be tucked under here and it will slide in and out of there. So all of this won't be there. This is higher than it needs to be. But this was just temporary for this trip. It worked out well. So I have my sink, which I've got a little switch for the water pump. Got nice running water, which looks great. And that comes out, a little hose. I just wired up some baskets and hung the TV here for now. So for the purpose of our trip, it worked well. I have my induction cooktop, which found out the hard way. You need to have magnetic bottom pans for these to work. So the pans that I brought did not even set off the cooktop. So I guess that's my learning curve of how induction works. There was one night we had this sitting outside and I strung a cord and we were gonna have some steaks. But then to the rescue is this wonderful little gadget, this microwave. It's microwaves, bakes, convection, and grills. So we actually had grilled steaks in here and they were delicious. And then later that night or the next night, I baked cookies in here, which was amazing too. It has these little, like a bake sheet if you do baking, and then 2 different size grill things if you want to grill, and then just the regular microwave. And you just push the little settings of what style of cooking it wants. That's a really great find. And then of course the fridge worked out wonderfully. This is just a perfect size fridge. Kept everything just actually really cold. These I've got it set at 37. I could probably even go up to 38. And the stuff in the freezer is freezes well. So you get like ice cream and stuff in there. So everything stayed really nice and cold. And I mean, this is a great size. We didn't even use half the stuff we brought, so. And then down here, my AC keeps going on and off. I'm trying to figure out, so that OutEquip Pro AC heater, right now it's like 80 degrees outside, so it's probably a little bit too hot for it to run. I'm learning that it really does just need its own dedicated like battery source. So I think I just have to get a dedicated lithium battery just for this running. It will run the AC when it's not too terribly hot, but it won't run the heat independently. It does suck quite a bit of juice. This is my little power bank back there. So right now I'm sitting at 99%. And I'm drawing in almost 200 watts of solar and only using 88 on that. So of that 88 watts right now, it's the lights, the fridge, and the fan, and that's it. But that power bank, I don't have the AC portion on, but I could turn on the TV, I could turn on the microwave. I tried to be very cognizant of things that might be drawing power just sitting, like maybe whether the microwave is or the coffee pot. So once I don't use those things, then I'm just unplugging those items. It was good to know though, because on this side, I realized I don't have any USB ports on this side, and so I might want to add a USB port over here. I have got quite a lot of USB, but maybe since these lights each have a USB underneath, then this is a USB port. I almost think I should move this either this one, or there's one over there, there's one on each side. Maybe move one over here. I'm going to turn on this light just to give you a little more light. So this wall is just temporary. I just put a little 1/4-inch plywood up just so we would have just the wall and not the insulation. And then I repurposed that moving pad that I had last time. I had our last trip hanging on the walls. I just put that up on the ceiling over the bed. As you can see right here, there's just the bare wires still on that side. This was a nice little find I found on Amazon. It just is hanging up there, but it's just 2 little compartments. So like we each had that, and then we each had one of these that I got from IKEA. So between that space and that space for each of us, that was plenty for our clothing. And then Jason, I put him right here. So where the windows are is just slightly a little bit longer lengthwise. This is a full-size bed, and I feel like I fit pretty perfect. He's a little taller than me, so that gave him just a little more space to sleep comfortably side to side. Right now I have the back insulated. That actually helps a lot to keep, whether it's hot, cold, whatever, it keeps whatever temperature outside. Gary's little spot, that worked well, his little kennel. He is right next to that power source, which does it cycles through, and I did notice, on the hot days that it does get a little warmer down here for him. Down when we would leave, I have like a little pet monitor thing and camera, so if like we ran into a restaurant, I'd run the air, and then I could watch him and watch the temperature while he was in here by himself. Under here, I just had, so that's the water storage. I filled that probably half when we left. And then I filled it one time and not even all the way full in the whole trip. And there's still like, I don't know, you can see the line is like right about there. One thing that did happen in the trip, and so that was good when we were up in the mountains, is these little bolts work themselves out. I didn't put thread lock, like the sealant on those, and then there were screws holding that down on the floor, and those actually worked themselves out. And this is bolted to the wall as well, but we probably would have been in trouble if it wasn't, because that weighs a lot when it had water and we were going up and down the mountains. So that would have created a lot of shift. So right now things are just kind of placed under here. So in future, just securing these a little bit better, I think would be a good move. This kennel fits really well underneath here. I might look in the future maybe turning it sideways just to give more. I just really have to play with the space. I liked, like right here, it was playing a game of Tetris. Every time we wanted something, I'd take a bunch of things out and put a bunch of things back. Then I'd have to go out and go open the back door. Our laundry, so definitely figuring out a place for dirty laundry. Right now I just had like collapsible baskets that we used, and we were putting laundry in the back. There's a little in like the trunk space. But just, and I know once I get my upper cabinets and things situated, there'll be, like, there's a lot of wasted space right now. So, like, one idea was to even, because I wanted to put this up higher, like at a higher length. I thought about putting this up here and then putting the kennel underneath here. I don't know, I think I'm just gonna have to play around with the space. And this, I think this will work. It's not going to be this high, but the sink needs to go on that side to allow the space for the toilet. And I think that still gives plenty of space for the hot water heater. So this, remember I said I was going to convert this hot water heater to 12 volts. Well, I actually didn't, and it doesn't really draw a whole lot of power. I think when I used it, I dropped like maybe 10% power in my power bank. I don't have it running constant. I have this on a dedicated line. I do want to put a switch for that dedicated line though, because right now I had to plug and unplug and plug and unplug every time we wanted to use it. You know, if we're driving and we know we're gonna stop soon, like within, like say 30 minutes, plug it in, drive, let the DC to DC charger charge that up, and then you're not really losing any power. I'll think about it if I'm gonna actually convert that to the 12 volt or not. I could see the advantage of doing that, but I'm also at, now that I've used that power bank, I'm also at a slight disadvantage of how many 12 volt spots I have. And that's, so I've got two separate fuse blocks, because this on the left, that 12 volt outlet, you can only go up to 10 amps. So I kept all the lights and anything 10 and under on that fuse block. And then the one on the right is an XT60 port, and that I can go up to 25. So just on that one, I've got the heaters and the AC. I've got a little, just a little like cab heater as this, between this and the one up above. This doesn't draw very much energy. It's like 12 amps. This, I just had it sitting on, like one night I had it sitting on top of the microwave there, and just to take the little chill out of the air before we went to bed. And that worked well, and it didn't draw very much. Didn't even use the Jackery. Brought it, didn't even use it one time. Never got down to 0%. I think the lowest on the power bank that we went is down to about 15%. And that was on just, it was the very hottest day where we weren't even, I didn't even have the solar connected yet. So that's that. Good trip, good learning lesson. It really helped, as especially with 2 people in here. Normally it'll probably just be me and Gary, but with 2 people taking trips or doing whatever, dividing the space, where do we want all the outlets, the switches that, so on this side I need to put USB, and on this side I need to put actually the 15 amp outlets, because I've got, right now I just ran a heavy duty extension cord that had a 3 out, and right now that had the TV, and then I would plug the coffee pot in and whatever else, and then there's one down below with just one outlet that is for the hot water heater. And when the toilet's eventually there, then I could also plug in the toilet, which that you only need to charge like once every several months. It's a little battery that you charge up and then you unplug it. You don't keep it plugged in all the time. More 12 volt on that side, the regular 15 amp draw on this side, which the wires are all behind the walls. Everything's wired. I got everything wired. I think I ran 10-3 wire triplex. I ran all the wires, I got everything connected, and then it just wasn't working, and I didn't want to burn I didn't want to burn myself down, burn down the van. So then I ended up just getting these nice, really heavy duty 10 and 12, I think there might even be 10 gauge wire, heavy duty extension cords, which I've seen people use those and just cut the cords before. So I've got both those options. I've got the wires in the wall. So the plan is now take a break and reconvene. I gotta, take the mattress back out. I still would like to figure out some way. I wanted the bed to kind of like fold up, like slide back and almost turn into a couch. I don't know if I can do that with this mattress on there though. Speaking of mattress, this mattress was very comfortable. As far as accessibility, seeing the things we wanted to see, that was amazing. We got into some places we never would have gotten into with the camper. And so that was really cool to see. I've definitely had my fill of mountains and hairpin turns and switchbacks for a little while. I'm ready to stay in the woods and have some grasslands and maybe some beaches. So, okay, that's it for now. Next video is back to building. I'm going to say maybe in a week, 2 at the most. I have to go back to work tomorrow and work for several days before I have some days off. But I need to just kind of regroup, relook at my stockpile, clean my boxes, clean up some trash. I just need to really reorganize and reset. And so I just need to really regroup and see where we're going to go from there. Until then, as you know, I would love for you to like and subscribe. Then back to my dollar dream, back to my build. See you next time. Thanks for joining.